Welcome to Codex, History of Video Games. My name's Tyler Osby.
And I'm Mike Coletta.
And this week, it's a mailbag episode.
It's a mailbag this week. It's kind of hard to start now when we have the video because we're both trying to get our heads in sync to do the dance, and it's really difficult. But we got a lot of emails and we got a lot of stuff in our mailbag channel on Discord. So we're gonna go through it today, and it's gonna get it's busy. It's a busy day, and I'm excited about it. So we're gonna start with this email from Martin from Oregon, and the subject line is Resident Evil Redux. Hey guys, Martin from Oregon here. This message is a little late, but you asked for some opinions on the accidental Resident Evil Redux episode. That was where I accidentally did a second episode on Resident Evil because I forgot. And I got to say, I love the idea of going back and rehashing an old topic you covered, especially with some fresh new insight after recently playing the game. You could make a whole segment out of it and even call it something like backward compatible episodes. I love that.
I like that a lot.
Anyway, just wanted to throw my 2 cents in there. Keep up the great work. You guys are awesome. P.S. I finally got to watch some video clips of your podcast, and it's always so weird finally seeing what somebody looks like after listening to them for years. Tyler looks way different than I thought he would. He is a handsome man. Spider Butts, Martin from Oregon. Look at Tyler getting compliments on the podcast. Ooh. How do you feel? Do you feel a little weird now?
Yeah, a little bit.
Were you not ready for it? Or was it the way I read handsome man? I was like, handsome man. All right. Do you want to read the next email we got here?
Yeah.
It's from Micah.
Yeah, we got a pretty long one from Micah, so he picked a few standout things. Micah says, you guys talked about barcades and Chuck E. Cheese / Dave & Buster's types arcades, but there are some places like High Scores Arcade in Alameda that have classic arcade cabs where all the games are set on free play, and you can pay a certain amount for like an hour or pay a fee to play all day, which sounds pretty cool. There's also pinball museums that have the same model, all set on free play. Pay a certain amount to play all you want. There's a pinball arcade like this in Alameda, and there's also the Pinball Museum in Seattle. Mike, have you been to the Pinball Museum?
I have not. I've meant to go many times, but yeah, it's a pretty big pinball museum in Seattle, and I need to go. I should go.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. The last bit here is then you have also have arcade conventions where they fill a convention center full of arcade cabinets and pinball machines. They have one every year in the Bay Area called California Extreme.
That's right. And they have a retro video game expo in Portland, Oregon that does the same thing. I forgot about this completely, where they just have a hall full of free-to-play arcades. And if you pay the entry fee for the convention, you can actually go in and play all the games. I meant to go this year. Didn't work out with comedy, but it's also a good place for me to try to find my White Whale Snowboard Kids 2 on N64. That's really the goal next year.
I believe.
I got to find it.
Yeah.
But thank you, Micah. That's a really nice email.
Yeah.
So we got our next one here is from Jesse, and it is called Forgotten Peripheral, the Rock Band Stage Kit. Hey, Mike and Tyler, Jesse from Minnesota. On your most recent episode, Arcades in 2023, you briefly talked about Rock Band, and then the whole chat about how it would be implemented got my brain going and brought me back to Harmonix, which released an official peripheral to work with Rock Band. That's hard to say, official peripheral. The Rock Band Stage Kit. From what I remember, it was a fog machine and light bar that you plugged into your console, and then those things would go in sync to the songs you're playing. It made me think that you guys could do an episode on strange or forgotten peripherals like the Rock Band Stage Kit. That's a great idea.
That is. I would really love a Rock Band Stage Kit. I don't know if I've told you about my dream of building a Rock Band stage, like for a backyard. I would need the Rock Band Stage Kit for that.
You would have to, but I think that's a great idea to do this, and that's just another thing. And also, kind of weird that he mentioned strange peripherals. I have multiple tabs open on my phone of weird controllers I've been looking up for the podcast, like the Dreamcast fishing rod. Which you can apparently use on a lot of things. There's a Wu-Tang controller. The Wu-Tang Clan made a controller. Yeah, okay. It's gonna get weird, Tyler. So we'll do this.
There's that Resident Evil 4 controller for PS2.
The chainsaw. The chainsaw controller. That's also the other tab I have open. What are we doing? It's like, have you been in my internet history? What are you doing, Tyler? Okay. No, that's a really good idea. And I think we should definitely do a strange peripherals episode. So you want to read this next one here?
Yeah. We've got one from Sean. It is subject, I love your pod. I was actually reading Console Wars when I discovered this podcast. I'm a video game elder by this point, 46. Hush. But I was 9 when I first played Super Mario Brothers, and I never looked back. I really look forward to see what each week's episode is about. BT Dubs, I live in Portland, so a life goal of mine is to hang out with Mike at Ground Control sometime. I'll school you at SF2 Street Fighter 2.
I would take that because here we go. Look at this. You ready? This is just what we can do with a live podcast. I have Ground Control power up cards just on my desk that have money on them from my bachelor party. So we could do this. We could do some sort of meetup thing where we play at Ground Control. I'd be down. And I give cards to people. I don't know how much money's on them. So we could just try it and see what happens.
Just roll the dice.
Just roll the dice. Thank you so much, Sean.
Yeah. He also said he'll go see your stand-up.
Oh, well, I will be in Portland at some point next year because I will be going there to do a whole weekend of shows. So I will reach out to Sean,
all right,
to try to have him go to see a show at like Al's Den or something. Okay. So this next one, I'm really excited because Matt in Japan, our man in Japan, Matt, has given us the down low on Japanese arcades. So this is what Matt says. Hey, Mike and Tyler, in your types of arcades discussion, there's another arcade you briefly mentioned, but to go into more detail, there's what we call the Japanese arcade, which is in quotes. Tyler got to see some of them during his trip and mentioned how they have lots of UFO catchers / claw machines. Tyler says they're rigged or luck-based, which I would say is true for the classic claw game ones, but I'd argue a lot of them are skill-based. A lot of them use physics, where the goal is to use the claw arms to push or drag the prizes into the hole rather than pick them up and drop them. It's especially satisfying when you stick the claw into the top of the pile of prizes and the force of the claw causes a bunch of them to roll down into the hole. Anyway, Japanese arcades tend to have multiple floors. There will be 1 or 2 floors with crane games, 1 floor with the cool Japanese photo booths that let you add doodles and crazy filters to, though when Western people use them, they look really creepy with their extra big eyes. It's very funny. 1 floor with fighting games, 1 floor with rhythm games, 1 floor with the card battler games, and so on. A neat thing is a lot of these arcade games use NFC cards that you can scan to save your records and progress. That is really cool. I don't think any arcades in the US do that.
Like
do they?
An NFC or save your
progress?
Like
save your progress? Well, I guess the card battler ones do. That like Dave and Buster's, I saw that card battler that did, but I don't think
there's a few games that maybe kind of do something like that, but I don't know if there's like a standard for it or anything.
I think it's the ones that like interact with your phone, because some of those card battlers at Dave and Buster's have like phone integration with it, so you can play on your phone or at the arcade. Okay, so Matt goes on to say the biggest appeal for Japanese arcades, and is probably what makes them stand out from the other arcades, is all the crazy Japanese-only rhythm games. You guys mentioned noise being an issue, but a lot of these games have 3.5 millimeter headphone jacks in them, so you can actually hear the music. Japanese arcades will also have weekly or monthly tournaments for Street Fighter and Tekken, or for the rhythm games, so there is a community aspect there. Round 1 is a chain of Japanese arcades that has made its way over to the US, so you can probably check out some of the games there. Matt in Japan.
That's true. There's a Round 1 in Burbank, California.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, and I've been there, and they do have a lot of those the strange Japanese rhythm games that like I just never seen before.
That's cool. We should go. When I come down there, we should go.
Let's do it.
We should do. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Round 1's cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. All right. You want to read the next one here? This one's from Reeve.
Yep. Episode idea and question. Hi, Reeve from Alaska. I have an episode idea on games that never got a sequel. Love the podcast. Great work. Also, so that's the question. Games that never got a sequel. Which
that's a really good one.
Right, that's the episode suggestion.
That's a really good idea, though.
Yeah, that I can come up with a lot of games that really should have got a sequel that never did. And then the question is, if you had to take a console to the past, what console would you take and why? Please talk about this on the mailbag. Thank you. So we're talking about it on a mailbag.
We're talking about it on the mailbag. Here we go. Okay. I have 2 ideas for this.
Okay. Yeah.
Depending on
rules that need to be set here.
Depending on what the goal is. Okay. Yeah. If the goal is to make money and be successful, I am taking one of those arcade machines that's like fishing that I talked about in like a couple episodes ago. That's like the weird gambling thing. I'm taking one of those arcade machines to a steamboat river casino in the Wild West, and I would clean up. I would destroy and make so much money. Okay, that's my fun money making one. If it was something a little less than that, I think I would, for funsies, I would just take like a Super Nintendo back with me, because the Super Nintendo, you can learn the ease of use there is not that hard. I think if you took a PS5 to the Wild West, no one would know what to do. But a
Yeah.
Super Nintendo is intuitive enough that they can kind of figure out like Super Mario.
Well,
Right?
you also got to think about how are you getting electricity out there
Mm?
when you take this back? Are you taking
I'm taking
your
that's a
old
given.
battery with you? You need a TV. You need a whole setup.
I think that's a given. I think the given is that you're going to have the setup you need.
Okay. So you're
So
taking a Super Nintendo to like the Wild West.
the Wild West, Super Nintendo, maybe even like New York, late 1800s, the Gilded Age, if you
Yeah.
will, and blow some rich people's minds and also make money. I'm trying to make money, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I feel like there's like a natural progression of video games for like the general public that if you try to circumvent that, you can have an issue. So what I think that I would do rather than take like something that's newer and take it like way into the past, I do something like take the PS2 but take it back to like 1990, just back like 10 years. You
Ooh,
know what I mean?
that's
And just like
good.
jumpstart that and just see what the developers of 1990 do with like skipping a couple generations. That could be really interesting to see.
So
From
when you
like,
come back in 2023, presumably you come back, right? You go
yes,
back in time,
yeah.
you come back.
And then you can see what you've done.
That's a really good point. How you changed history.
Yeah.
Tyler takes a PS2 back to the 1990s, comes back to 2023. Humanity is gone. Civilization has ended.
What happened? Or
What?
everything's great. It's a utopia.
Yeah, you never know. It could have gone Star Trek or it could have gone Fallout. You don't know
Yeah.
which way it's going to go.
And then you find out they use the PS2s as supercomputers to
Mm.
like solve some big problem that, created infinite renewable energy or something.
Yeah, they solved climate change with the PS2 in the 1990s. That would be
Yeah.
amazing. Okay, I love it. That's a great question, Reeve. Thank you so much. Also, I was born in Fairbanks, Alaska, and spent a lot of time there. So it's good to have a fellow Alaskan on the pod. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our Mailbag Discord channel that we got from that, right?
Mhm.
And so we got one here for Game of the Year from Gurox, right?
Mhm.
And I kind of want to save the Game of the Year thing because I think we're going to do a whole episode on Game of the Year
Yeah.
and go
I think
through
that's a
these
good idea.
categories. That's like something we're going to do at the actual end of the year, right? Is we're going to like spend some time. Tyler and I are going to sit down and make our little fake award show. That sounds fun, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So
No, that sounds great.
we'll do that. But so we're going to move on to the next question from Squirrel Mancer. And I feel like we've gotten this question before, but it's good because it constantly changes. So you're stuck on a desert island and you can only take one video game. Which one do you take? Because mine has changed.
It says video game item.
Video game item.
So are we talking about a game or an
A
item from
console
a game?
Oh, I read this wrong. Okay. So we can take any item from a video game?
Yeah, I like that interpretation of this.
I like that too. Okay. Do you have an idea of what item you would take? Because I kind of want to take the portal gun. Because I think the portal gun would be cool. It'd be useful to explore.
Yeah, and can you put a portal back home before you get to the island and then just walk back home?
That's kind of my thought.
Mhm.
I just fall through it. And
Yeah.
go.
There's got to be something like, some video game item that gives somebody total power over everything. Oh, Triforce. Take a Triforce.
Or I was thinking the winged cap from Mario, just fly away.
Oh yeah, you just fly back. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or the metal Mario cap, and you just sink to the bottom of the ocean and run.
And just run down the ocean floor. It's a lot less productive, but it works. It works still. You get stuck in a trench. I didn't think this through. I didn't think this all the way through at all.
Yeah.
I
If
think
it's one like video game related item, I'd probably take my Miu Mini.
That's what I was thinking too. I would take my Miu Mini.
Yeah, I have my little handheld PC too. That would be pretty good, but I have a feeling something would break on it. Like some software thing would happen. I'd need to download drivers or something, and I wouldn't be able to do that on a desert island. But Miu Mini, that'd be fine without it.
Bulletproof, that Miu Mini. Also, I actually wonder how long it would take to play all the games on a Miu Mini.
I mean,
like
how many games
we could add it up. We could do the math using howlongtobeat.com, but it's going to be a long time. So the Miu Mini is a good version for that. So that's a good one. If it's a video game item, I am taking the portal gun. If it is a video game item in real life, I am taking the Miu Mini also. I'm taking that as well. Or any sort of emulation kind of console like that. That's a really good question, though. Thank you so much. So you want to read the Supreme Chorizos?
The Supreme Chorizo.
Chozo Rizo. Oh my gosh, I messed that up so much. It's
Yeah.
a video game thing. Yeah.
What are the top 5 retro games for each of you that you want to get to playing next year?
It's very good. Do you want to go back and forth?
Sure.
Okay. In no particular order.
Yes, no particular order.
The first one I have on my list, it's in my favorites on here. I'm going to do an episode on this game eventually, is The Legend of the River King, which is a Game Boy Color game. That was a popular series in Japan before, and the first like North American version of it was this Legend of the River King for Game Boy Color. It came out at the same time of Pokemon, so it kind of got buried, but it's still a very good game. So I'm going to try that one out as my first one. What about you?
Okay. For my first one, I kind of have a grouping of several, but I'm grouping them. I'm calling it Strange Game Boy RPGs. And by that, I mean the Mario Golf Game Boy Color game, the Mario Tennis Game Boy Color game that are like actually just like JRPGs in disguise, basically. And then the Harry Potter Game Boy Color games also, like the first, I want to say 3 Harry Potter movies have Game Boy Color games, and they're just straight up JRPGs.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Mario
and they're really
Golf.
short too.
Mario Golf is an amazing game for Game Boy Color. I had it for Game Boy Color. It's an amazingly well done game. So
I really want to play it.
I should play that on my Mini. There's just so many games to play.
Yeah. And then other RPGs, though, I want to play Mario RPG. I don't know if that counts for as retro at this point because we just got a remake. And of course, I'm going to play the remaster, the version of that. So I don't know if that counts as retro, but I'm looking forward to playing it. And then Final Fantasy Tactics. I really want to actually get to playing that one next year because I've been getting better at tactical RPGs. And I feel like it's not so intimidating to me anymore.
You know, we were supposed to go back and forth, and I completely forgot. So I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read all 4 of mine now. Okay, you ready for it?
Sorry,
it's okay. No, it's fine. I did the Legend of the River King. I have Zoda's Revenge, which is Star Tropics 2, weirdly titled, but I have that on my list of things to play. Resident Evil 2, because I did Resident Evil 1. I want to play Resident Evil 2. I will be playing the remaster. I don't know if that counts as a retro game, but it's an old game, and I'm just
you're playing the Super Duper remake.
The Super Duper remake.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then I also have Sweet Home, which is the horror game on the NES that came out that inspired in Resident Evil. So I want to play Sweet Home. And then the last one is just one from my childhood I never finished. I want to complete and finish Golden Sun on Game Boy Color because I heard it's really good. And I mean, I played it as a kid and I liked it. I just never finished it. I think I got stuck and then other games came out and it just got fall to the wayside. Yeah. But I want to try that out. So yeah, that's my 5, and that's Tyler's 5. Is it my turn to read? I forget.
I think so, yeah.
Burger Champ, our dear friend Burger Champ, has a question here. What games have you wanted to like, but ended up putting more effort into trying to enjoy than actually enjoying, like genuinely enjoying? That's a good question.
Yeah.
I bought the Far Cry collection, and Far Cry 1 is a hard game to play in 2023. And that was a bummer. And I wanted to enjoy it, and it just didn't really do it for me at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that one doesn't hold up super well. I think that series really came into its own in Far Cry 2. And then 3, like, really just set the direction from there. But
for sure.
Yeah. And do you have another one?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to let you go, but I have Dark Souls, the first Dark Souls. I've changed my mind on this.
Okay.
I mentioned in previous episodes I enjoyed playing it with a guide because I did follow along with like a YouTube video and I played it. And then I realized about halfway through I'm not having fun. Like I'm just kind of doing this tour of Dark Souls with this person and I'm not really into it. And if I was playing it alone, I would have maybe had more fun, but I also just didn't really enjoy myself in the first Dark Souls. So it's kind of why I haven't bought Elden Ring either. Like I'm a little apprehensive to purchase Elden Ring because what if I just hate it? So I'm waiting for that to go on super duper sale before I purchase it and try it out. So I know you're not a Dark Souls or Souls-like game fan at all. So
no, I've yet to really be able to get into any of those. And I've tried, like I put probably 10 hours into the first Dark Souls. I put a few hours into even Jedi Fallen Order. At a certain point I gotta be like, you know what, if I'm not having fun, don't keep doing it. So I haven't really put a lot more effort into it. But so Dark Souls-like games, and also roguelikes, especially the ones that are like Souls-like roguelikes where it's like just takes both of those things and combines it. I've yet to find the roguelike that really grabs me. I do like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ones on Apple Arcade. That one, and I played a little bit of Hades, but just haven't grabbed me.
Yeah, Hades was taken off of the Xbox Game Pass, and so I never got to finish it. And I was on the final boss, like the first completion. So I might buy that on sale too. But now I kind of want to buy it on Xbox. I'm like kind of committed to it, but I was really digging it. So Hades, I liked a lot. I just Game Pass. Microsoft took it away from me. It's all Phil Spencer's fault. Let's blame him. So that's a really good question, though. I think there's got to be more games that I've wanted to enjoy too. JRPGs are like that for me, where I get really amped about it and then I start playing it, and then at like 5 or 10 hours in, I'm like, I can't do this. I just can't commit this amount of time. So watching you play Persona was the most fun I had with JRPGs.
You should play the Penny Arcade games, specifically episodes 3 and 4, because they're like Super Nintendo style JRPGs. But they're like 6 hours long.
That's the money spot for me. I think
you might appreciate that one, especially the third one, the Penny Arcade on the Rain Slick Precipice of Darkness, episode 3, and it's always on sale. It's probably free on Steam right now. I don't know.
Okay, I'll look that up.
It's really, really good.
It's really fun. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll check that out.
It's hilarious too because it's the Penny Arcade comic people.
Nice. All right. Well, the next question on here. Do you want to read this one from Jimmy from Sweden?
Yeah. Jimmy says, seems like everyone wants you to do the end of year kind of stuff. So why not look ahead as well? Top 5 upcoming games that you're most excited about. What about you, Mike?
Oh, okay. Do you want to read Jimmy's? Do we want to share with what Jimmy has on here?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
We don't want to leave Jimmy out.
Yeah. So Jimmy's are Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door remake, the Dragon Quest III remake, Persona 3 Reload, Unicorn Overload, and Princess Peach Showdown. Seems like a lot of remakes for next year. That's Jimmy from Sweden.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. So I have, first and foremost, because I did play it at PAX this year and I really enjoyed it and I'm excited about it, the new Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. That's a game that I'm actually looking forward to.
Okay.
It feels, I told you, it felt like Dead Cells, and Dead Cells is great, and it just was great for me. So I'm excited for that.
Side-scrolling Prince of Persia.
Classic side-scrolling Prince of Persia. Not classic, but like the middle.
Prince
of
Persia,
golden age of Prince of Persia.
Classic.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, so I don't know. Anyway, when you said classic, I thought of the first Prince of Persia for like where it was like the white stick figure running. And I'm like, I guess that is still the same game technically, just a little bit more. Yeah,
platforming.
Yeah, I loved that game. So I'm really looking forward to the actually playing the full game. The next one is a remaster for me. It's the Tomb Raider 1 and through 3 remastered. So it's going to be Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3. I played 3 as a kid. I've talked about it before where I had like a weird bug happen and I got stuck. So I'm excited to play through all these games as they're remastered. And then the third one on my list is the Star Wars Dark Forces remaster, which I know you're kind of excited about too, right?
Yeah, I am. I tried to play the original and
it's hard.
Rough.
It's rough and it's hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, because it's a Doom clone, essentially.
Yeah, and it's like in those games in those days were all about just like, let's make the craziest maze and make players take forever to find the end of the level, and it's hard.
I want to know how they're going to do it in the remake, like how they're going to make it less upsetting to the player, because I don't think players in 2023 like tolerate that as much as the people that were playing it at the time do. The situation has changed.
Yeah,
but I'm excited for the remaster to see what they do with it. Fourth, we just mentioned Hades. Hades 2 is supposed to come out in 2024. I'm excited for it. And the last one, it has the potential to be very good, but it could also be very bad. And that is Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. I'm curious to see what this game is like. I've heard the first one is like really fun, and I actually want to do an episode on it, but it's for 360, the first one.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And I want to get it and play it on my 360 to get like the most experience. So I kind of want to try to find a used copy of that somewhere. I might go to Game Gurus in Seattle and see if they have a copy of it. But so I just kind of want to see what this game's like. And it's kind of weird because that's like a 10-year span between the sequel. So we're going to see how it plays out. But we kind of are going through a Warhammer 40K renaissance right now, where they're re-releasing, like they had Bolt Gun come out, which was like the boomer shooter. They had Dark Tide come out, which was like the 4-player Left 4 Dead kind of style game. They have a new CRPG set in the Warhammer universe that's set to come out soon, and then they have this Space Marine 2. So as someone who's been kind of getting into 40K without getting into the miniatures because it's super expensive, I am just excited to try it out and see what happens.
Awesome.
Yeah. What about your list though?
My list, I just looked ahead at just games coming out next year that I'm excited about. Persona 3 Reload. I'm tentatively excited for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I know the gameplay stuff they've shown, it's like people aren't stoked on it, but I really want to believe it's going to be okay.
Tentatively excited is a good
Yeah.
way to phrase a lot of excitement in video games lately.
Yeah, I want it to be good, so I'm excited for it. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the part 2 of the Final Fantasy VII remake trilogy. I believe it's going to be a trilogy. Really excited for that. They're opening up the world. We're leaving Midgar. It's going to be great. I am excited for Destiny 2, the Final Shape, the expansion a little bit.
How did I forget it?
Because we haven't really been playing Destiny lately, and
I just fell off the train. I fell
I
off the train. I took my Sparrow, I threw it on the ground, I jumped off the train, threw all my guns.
Yep.
It's upsetting. I'm not happy with the state of Destiny right now.
So a new season just started though, so I'm thinking of kind of trying to jump back in and see if I can get caught up before Final Shape. But
I'd do that with you. We could do that together. We haven't played a game together in a while.
That's true. It's been a little while.
Yeah. Although we need to play X-Men Legends because I got a text from former guest of the pod, Mike Cronin, and he's
wants to play some X-Men.
He wants us to play it. Yes.
Okay. All right. The next game that I'm excited for, Dawn Trail, the expansion for Final Fantasy 14, which I still need to finish. Endwalker, maybe that's a Christmas vacation thing. I don't know. And then Flight Simulator 2024, which I didn't even know they were making until I looked at a list of games coming out next year.
Are they doing yearly Flight Simulator? Is that
what they don't do it every year? But the last one was 2020, so 2 years.
It's been 20. It was 2020. That's how long it's been.
Yeah.
Wow, dude. I thought it was like 2022.
Nope.
I thought it was like, dang. Okay.
Yeah. Those are the ones I'm excited for that are like next year games.
Nice, man. All right. Well, this next one here, do you want to read Mo's? Oh, actually, yeah. Or is it my turn to read, or is it your turn to read? I keep forgetting.
I think it's you. It's you.
Okay. Mo has a good discussion topic. Friend and I had an interesting discussion about this today, actually. How do you define linearity in video games? I asked him about Zelda Skyward Sword, which I've never played. Why do people look back with so much criticism on Skyward Sword? He mentioned that it's much more linear than other Zelda games, and exploration is one of the key strengths of the Zelda series. My friend also said that some people consider Ocarina of Time to be pretty linear, even though there are quite a few larger open areas in the game. He even suggested that some might consider a game like Super Metroid to be linear, since there's only one path to the end of the game, unlike games like Baldur's Gate 3, which have loads of branching paths and choices that could lead you to the end of the game. How do you define a linear open area and open world? What are the lines that distinguish these relatively new terms? I think I think I have kind of a controversial opinion here.
Okay.
Most video games are linear.
Yeah.
If they're telling a story, they are linear. Baldur's Gate is linear with the appearance of freedom, because to get to the end of Baldur's Gate, you have to do a select few things. How you get there is the open aspect of it. Skyward Sword is it's not even trying to hide the fact that it's linear, where I think other Zelda games hide it better. Skyward Sword does not. But if you're telling a story in a video game, it's going to be relatively linear unless you have branching paths. I think that's where we're at. And I think you're the expert on Ocarina of Time. Do you feel like it was more open, or do you feel like it was more linear?
It's extremely linear with regards to like the main like temple path, the main storyline, whatever. That's super linear. I think if you want to, you can switch around the last 2 dungeons if you know what you're doing. And it doesn't really cause you a problem. But like for the most part, the game is designed in a linear fashion. Speedrunners can do weird stuff too. But and then there's just like side quests that you can sort of branch off of while you're on this main quest. It's like, oh, I'm going to go do this side quest. I'm going to go do this other side quest.
That's what Baldur's Gate 3 is like.
Yeah, which I think it makes it still a pretty linear game. I mean, it depends on how you want to define linear. Like Half-Life 2 is probably just like an extremely linear game, right? So if it's just like you just sort of run forward to the end of the game and that's what linear means to you, then then yeah. But I think a lot of Grand Theft Auto is also pretty linear in that sense too. Like when you're doing the storyline, you know. So I don't know. What do you think?
Baldur's Gate 3 just has a lot of play time. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
you
There's a lot of
it
stuff.
you can it's linear with the story, but because you have to follow the line to get to the next act. You have
Yeah,
and usually there's one or two choices. So this branching paths, you can like take the Underdark route. You can go this way. You can go that way. It's like but you're getting to the same act 2 and act 3. So I think it really is just the appearance of linearity that has changed in video games. And Skyward Sword didn't even try. And I think that's where people criticize it. But because, I mean, especially with like now, I mean, it didn't come out obviously then, but Breath of the Wild just completely made you have choices,
yeah,
but you are still getting to Ganon.
yeah,
You're still getting there eventually. You can just choose which way you go. So I think it's kind of like the appearance of linearity more than it's actually linear. So
yeah.
I
I
don't think
also
this is a
don't think
controversial answer.
linearity is a bad thing in games.
No, I think it organizes it. You kind of need that. Like
Yeah,
I need to know as a person when I'm playing a game, I want to know what's the end game here. Minecraft had the end, you know, with the Ender Dragon and everything, and that I needed that in there to make
yeah.
it so I could be like, I'm kind of done with this because I need to have something that tells me I'm done.
Something that
Versus
you've worked
Minecraft,
towards.
yeah, Minecraft is an infinite game. You can just keep going and going and going, but that's kind of up to you more than that's up to the game, I guess. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like if you take a game like Link Between Worlds on the 3DS, the Zelda game, that one is pretty non-linear as far as Zelda games go because you can do any dungeon in any order. They don't like require items from other dungeons, so there's a whole like item renting system too, which is interesting. But um, yeah, that one's like less linear as far as like Zelda goes. But
yeah, it's one of those things where it's just it's the appearance of linearity. I would say, yeah, every game is mostly if his game is telling a story, it's linear. If it's got branching paths, though, that's what gives it the appearance of branching paths or choice, like Breath of
yeah,
the Wild. Which temple do you go to first? Which thing do you do first? So I think that's how I feel about it more than anything. I don't know if that entirely answers the question, but it really does depend on your entire definition of linearity. But I look
yeah,
at it as this story has an end. We're
yeah.
following a line. We're
We're
getting
following the
somewhere.
line. Like it's very clear what I need to do next. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really good question, though, and quite the discussion question.
Hmm.
Do you want to read? So James from Colorado sent us a really, really long email about their experience with like arcades and everything. I was thinking we could just maybe read the first two paragraphs or something with this. Does that work for you?
Sure.
And then we can just go from there because it's a pretty long email, and we appreciate the long emails, but we also just have time commitments. So
Yeah. Okay. James from Denver here. First, wanted to say that I love the episode on nonviolent games. That was the episode we just did with James Batchelor. Your guest was great, and I'm looking into buying a copy of his book. I hope to use some of the suggestions to get my wife more into gaming. She currently isn't much of a gamer, but we are always looking for games to play together. I would like some she can play herself rather than just having her watch me play. I think that makes a lot of sense.
it
Uh,
does. I love that book for that reason too. I
yeah,
was really happy with James being on here because it was
yeah.
great.
There are a lot of really like approachable games in that list of games for sure. Second, I want to say that the arcade episode is in my top 3 episodes. I was born in 1980, one of the old guys here, and I grew up in arcades of all kinds. My mother was a bartender, so at a very young age, I was learning not only bar games like pool, shuffleboard, darts, but also any type of arcade game they had. I played one of the first Donkey Kong machines Denver got. When I was about 10 or 11, I remember a cafe/arcade across the street from the bar my mother worked at. The owner was a very nice guy who lived in an apartment above the place. He would have high scores posted above the games, and if you beat the high score, you got to play that game for free until someone else beat you. You also got your name posted on the machine. That's so cool. Getting to
That's
play for free until someone beats you.
that's like the coolest thing to me is that arcade culture is just something that we can't emulate now. And like, well, we could do it,
Yeah.
but with the Codex Arcade, but
Yeah.
we can't. You can't like that's just kind of the feeling is gone. So thank you, James. That's yeah. He has more to say in the email, but it was really nice, and I love these like memories he shared with us. I thought
Yeah.
that was really cool. Okay, so we've come to our last discussion question
Okay.
of the day. And this one's kind of hard because it's kind of spoilerific if we do this wrong.
Okay. Let's try to
So,
keep spoilers to a minimum, I
yeah.
suppose.
I do this every time. Is it Gurox or Jurox? You've told me multiple
It's
times.
Gurox, I
It's
believe, because it's from
Gurox.
Invader Zim. Unless I just say
Gurox.
that every time, but it's not true.
I don't know. And he definitely mentioned the correct pronunciation, and I lost it in the Discord because I'm insanely unprofessional. So Gurox says this. You have done this one, but you may have done this one, but I'm not remembering. Saddest character death in a game to you as the player, specifically because there are deaths hugely impactful to the protagonist, but that maybe you didn't land the same for. Like, you didn't land the same for the player. And so we don't want to get spoilerific here. So I feel like the best way for us to do that is to just say the game names.
Yeah.
And
if you know,
people
you
that,
know.
if you know, you know. So, because Gurox also mentions their deaths here, and I just didn't want to read them because I don't know how spoilery people get. So if you're really concerned about it, you might just want to skip ahead like 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I suppose. So, but I'm gonna start with a game, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep.
It hurt.
Hard.
It hit really hard, and I didn't know it was coming at all. And I was like, "This is," and when you kind of figure out what's happening, you're like, "Oh no, oh
Yeah.
yikes!"
I think for me, I'm gonna say Metal Gear Solid 3, and I feel like there's probably a couple in there, but I'm thinking of one specifically towards the end that really gets me every time.
Okay, I think people can figure this one out by the name of the game, and most people know it. But Halo Reach,
Yeah.
yeah, it hurts.
That one's not really a spoiler because you know where that's headed. Like if you're going into that game, if you knew about Halo lore from the books, you knew where the story was headed.
Halo Reach is a hard one.
Yeah, and they probably mention it in like the first or second Halo game too, of like Reach, because it's a prequel. So,
what's another one you got there? What's another one you have? What you thinking about? You can take mine right here if you want. I'm okay with that.
Oh yeah, we played this series of games
because we played it together. So
Gears of War.
Gears of War hurt real bad. Yeah. I didn't know that was coming because I really didn't read anything about it, and it hit me real hard.
Yeah,
and it was one of my favorites, and I was sad about it. So
they did a good job on that one.
They really did. They really cut you in the feels there. It felt real good. But that's what we're gonna leave it off on there though. I don't want to. If I think of any more, I might say the game names another show. Yeah. But thank you so much, everybody. That was a lot. We had a lot of stuff. We kind of burned through it really good, but that was cool. I'm excited to do our game of the year episode.
Yeah, that'll
be fun. And we'll have categories too.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we'll get some music, and maybe we'll pretend to be the games, and we'll
give speeches.
Their speeches, and then we can cut each other off with music like they do in the award shows.
Okay.
All right. So, but we'll cut each other off with like the Mike Tyson's Punch Out theme or something to make it like even more amped. All right. So with that, Tyler, what you been playing?
This week, it's been pretty crazy at work, so I haven't been playing a lot of games, but I've been making a little bit more progress on Persona 5 Tactica when I can find a little bit of time. And Super Mario Wonder, because you can play that in like a few minute chunks. But I just haven't had a ton of time. What about you? What have you been playing?
Starfield. I'm all in.
Heck yeah, let's go.
I'm actually at a turning point where I am clearly on one of the last missions in the main story. And I made the decision to go do a quest line for the Freestar Collective because I wanted to just see what being a space cowboy is all about. So I am going to do that, and then I'm going to beat the main story. And then I might be done, but I might not, because this is a spoilerific thing, but the way the game does extra game is different. And it's the thing I'm a little torn on. I don't want to say anything on here. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it's something that I have feelings about Starfield that I don't know if I'm happy or sad. I can't tell. Maybe down the road I'll mention it, but we'll see. So I'm playing that. I plan on beating that this week, or at least getting to a point where I'm like done with it, even if I'm not beating it, because I still need to do Tears of the Kingdom. I still need to go through like Advanced Wars. Like, I want to beat these games before, Christmas time comes, and I'm going to play some game that is random. I might play Christmas Resident Evil. I might get real weird with it, do a little holiday horror. Not sure.
Do it.
Yeah. Anyway, if you want to send us an email, you can do that at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. You can go to codexpodcast.net. You can send us a contact form message there. You can join our Discord from there. You could look at our Trello board, piles of shame. You could find our Twitters on there as well. So you can just check us out on codexpodcast.net. With that, Tyler, do you want to say bye to anybody?
Goodbye to everybody.
I messed this up. I didn't have it ready. Oh, no.